President Joe Biden is expected to make an announcement tomorrow, Monday, about his plans to address the Supreme Court reform that he talked about during his Wednesday speech in the Oval Office, where he outlined his plan or the reasons why he was stepping aside and what he plans to do for the remainder of his term. Now, what is he going to request? Well, we don't know entirely for sure, but a lot of people are saying that it is going to be an enforceable code of ethics of some kind and term limits for the Supreme Court. And I've talked about it in previous videos. Those would require a constitutional amendment, and it sounds like that's what Joe Biden is going to do. He's going to call for an amendment for those, and he also is going to back or call for an amendment to limit the Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity. Now, as I've talked about in other videos, that an amendment is very hard to get passed. It would require two-thirds majority in both houses. With neither party having that large of a majority, it is going to take bipartisan support. And it is entirely possible that you could get Congress on board for doing this, even Republicans, because like with term limits, they could see the benefit of putting a term limit in place, because that would give them hope that their party would be the one to replace somebody who was term limited out. So I could see that maybe happening. Same with a code of ethics, if only that they think they could use it as some kind of a gotcha against liberal-leaning justices. But that would require two-thirds of both houses, and then it would have to go and get passed by 38 states. It takes 3/4 of all states to pass an amendment. That is a pretty high bar. I don't know if there would be enough support within every state to pass it, depending on how it is handled. If it is handled within state legislatures, again, going to depend on how much bipartisan support there would be. And if it is put up to a popular vote, I think that would be very popular. And if the states allowed people to vote on it, I think it would pass and get handled rather quickly. But this is also going to be a slow process. Amendments usually take years to accomplish, so this isn't going to happen overnight. But Joe Biden is going to make remarks tomorrow talking about this Supreme Court reform he wants to make, and he's expected to speak in Texas tomorrow at the LBJ Library, and that's where he's planning to make this announcement. But it is also a shift away from what he normally he's been very conservative about how he wants to handle the Supreme Court. Now he's getting more fired up because he's got nothing left to lose. He's not running for another election. There is no downside there. So he might be pushing at least for this, and we don't know. He may call for also expanding the court. I've talked about that in previous videos, where if they expand the court, that could give Democrats a chance to put 4 or more justices on the Supreme Court during either depending on how fast it gets passed, either during the remainder of Joe Biden's presidency or throughout the 4 years of Kamala Harris's presidency. So let's see what happens. Expecting Joe Biden to speak, like I said, at the LBJ Library in Texas tomorrow.